So I just read that 4 out of 5 people suffer with diarrhea. And my question to you is, does that one enjoy it? This is a total food makeover. We're going to keep this light today. I'm excited about this. We've been looking forward to this for months. And the reality is that when we go through this information today, we're going to go through foods that heal, foods that kill. We're going to go through why inflammation is destroying our bodies and how food plays such an integral role into that. We're going to talk about toxicity and the underlying factors of toxicity there. And this is information that we've really not covered in this depth before. I was just talking to somebody right before walking up here, and they said, when's the last time you did just a real focus on food and toxicity? And really, it's been years. And so for the next 3 hours, I'm going to try not to, with Dr. Phil Harris, feed you with a fire hose. Is that okay? I'm going to try not to. However, if this is your first entry point into Max Living, and you've not been exposed to the vitalistic model of health and nutrition, then this still might feel like a lot of information all at once. But I encourage you, just like Dr. Alcorn said, don't be overwhelmed with the vastness of the information and all the changes that need to be made. Just pick the 1, 2, or 3 things that you know that you can plug into and start doing that's going to move the needle. Starting when? Now. So we don't wait till Monday to implement change. We start when? Now. And so, I'm so thankful for this group, and you're going to hear from people who, have lost, combined hundreds of pounds, people who have reversed disease, gotten off medications. And the reason why we share the stories is really to give you hope. But the reality is, when you look outside of this room and you go out into the rest of the world, right now as Americans, are we healthy or are we sick? Okay, the statistics are actually really bleak when you cover them. Listen to this. The brutal facts of what's happening right now in America. 65.7 American adults are overweight or obese. Heart disease deaths in the U.S. occur every 34 seconds. The Columbia School of Health says that is up to 95 to 98% preventable, by the way. Cancer in the U.S., 1,500 people die each day, 3,400 new diagnoses each day. Autism, what was once 1 in 10,000 in 1980 is now 1 in 37 here today. You look at our statistics right now with the kids. U.S. has the highest infant mortality in the industrialized world. Here, the United States. 54% of children are diagnosed with a chronic condition. So think about this for a second. We have the highest rates of infant mortality, and those who do make it past 1 year, we now have 54% of our children who now have and are developing a chronic condition. Blue Cross Blue Shield did a study recently, and they studied 55 million Americans, and they showed that millennials are showing a double-digit increase for 8 out of 10 of chronic diseases as compared to the Generation Xers. And what the Blue Cross Blue Shield study showed is that this is right now the sickest of the sickest generation in human history. Now, I want you to think about this for a second, because we live in a land of the free, and we live in a land where we have all these choices, yet you think about, we have right now the best of the best in modern healthcare. We're 5% of the world's population. Do you know now we take 70 to 80% of the world's drugs right here in this country? So picture this. There's a big pile of drugs that the whole world has access to, and here we are as Americans taking 70 to 80% of those medications. We have the best doctors. We fly in doctors from other countries to practice medicine here because it's the most lucrative. We have the best hospitals. We're constantly renovating our hospitals, are we not? We have the best of modern medicine. We take the most medications, yet we are the sickest of the sickest in human history here. In Hoosiers, how about the state of Hoosier health? Good or bad compared to the rest of the states? Bad. So Hoosiers, when we rank Hoosiers, versus the rest of the states, we have 34th worst in drug deaths, 40th worst in obesity, 41st worst percentage of smokers, and 42nd worst in infant mortality. So quite literally, we are one of the worst in the world here in this state. Hopefully not in this room, because most of you and many of you have been living this way and have been making changes and are stepped outside of that paradigm. But my hope and my prayer for you today is that your eyes will be opened to a new way of living and thinking. If this is your first time being exposed to this, my prayer for you today is that this would be an enlightening experience, but not just enlightening in the fact that, oh, that's a good idea, because how many of you know information doesn't change lives? You have to do what with it? You have to take action with it, right? And so my prayer for you today is that you'll move and take action with it, because it's not our genetics. We're blaming everything on genetics, are we not? Everything. It's unreal. You go into a doctor's office, and I have doctors and nurses in my family, and they're good people. They're trying to do good things. I want to be clear about that, because as I'm going through this, sometimes I understand that because I feel inside of me this angst where people need to know this so badly, and they need to understand this, and they need to step outside of the pharmaceutical-driven market that we call healthcare. And sometimes it can sound like, man, he's ticked, right? He hates doctors. And it's not the case. What I do know, though, is that I love people, and I can't stand and watch people get hurt unnecessarily anymore. And when we blame this on genetics, and you go into the doctor and you fill out the family history form, and they see, hey, your dad had high cholesterol, your grandfather had heart disease, and so you have heart disease in your family. And so what's the whole conversation about for the rest of that visit? How you're at an increased likelihood of developing these types of diseases, whether that's cancer or diabetes, or whether that's heart disease. And so the conversation is this: here, take this in a preventative form. How many of you know what I'm talking about right now? Yep. Take this, and you want to minimize your risk. Hey, your cholesterol is a little bit high, take this medication. Or hey, your blood pressure is kind of going high. Let's not ask any questions about what could have caused that, what would have contributed to your high blood pressure that's going up, what would have contributed to your diabetes, what would have contributed to your gout or Alzheimer's or whatever it is that we're dealing with. But it's a lot of times here, because it's in your family history, unfortunately, you do have the predisposition, so here, take this. It's not genetics. 95 to 98% of disease is not genetics. Columbia School of Health said that. It's been reported in CNN. It's a lifestyle-caused epidemic, and now we have solution that is a pharmaceutical solution. And it's not working. If this was working, I would not have to be talking about this. I would not be talking about this until I'm blue in the face. I feel like I have to cover this because this is the number one thing that I feel like is going to interrupt you from actually getting help and healing. And what I mean by that, right now, here in this country, in the last 20 years ago, the average person filled 6 different prescriptions every single year. That is doubled in 20 years. Now we fill on average, 12 different prescriptions every single year. 65% of Americans have at least one chronic disease. 12% have at least one chronic disease now. Does America really have the worst healthcare system in the world? The answer to that is resounding absolutely yes. We rank 37 out of 37 in one study. We rank 11 out of 11 in another study. Another study that ranked us, we ranked 8 out of 8. When you study the industrialized world, we were ranking dead last on every single category. And so we have to wake up. And what we're trying to do to help, which again is a lot of times tricking the body into having a better blood pressure, tricking the body into having a lower cholesterol, or tricking the body into whatever it is that we're talking about. What we're trying to use to help is actually that which is hurting. And according to the John Hopkins study, what they found is that right now, that form of healthcare and trying to help, but trying to help in a way that's trying to trick the body and manipulate the body into doing what we think it should do, is now the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. John Hopkins study claims more than 250,000 people in the U.S. die every year from medical errors. It's now the 3rd leading cause of death. Guess what you won't find on the CDC website? That right there. even though it was a Johns Hopkins study. And that's conservative estimation. When you combine hospital infections along with that, Gary Knoll was brilliant with his book, Death by Medicine. When you combine that with hospital infections, it's called nosocomial infections plus iatrogenic, that's doctor-induced. It is now the leading cause of death in America, killing almost 1 million people every single year. Again, they're not bad people. They're great people. I love them. I have even people here. I know your heart. I know you're good people. But when it comes to the way that we're treating our symptoms, we've got to recognize that it is not working and that it is actually hurting. There's a new paradigm. It's a paradigm shift that is already happening here in America and in the rest of the world. It's a complete paradigm shift of the way that people view and manage their health. People more and more are stepping outside of that and said, no, I want to know what's causing my health problems. No, I want a solution and a path for health and healing for me and my family. I don't want a pharmaceutical intervention. I want real help, right? I know I might have caused this by my lifestyle. I know I might have caused this by the fact that I haven't been doing everything right, or toxicity. I know I might have caused this by not knowing this information a long time ago, or misinformation that was told to me back in the 80s or 90s or whenever it was. And I'm ready for a real solution, and we're seeing that more and more. We're seeing it in the network of Max Living. We have over 300 doctors nationwide and over 1,000 clinics, and we're seeing the trend that is happening. But as the movement is getting stronger, guess what else is getting stronger? The pushback.